All right. Great. Welcome, everybody. This is the Create Your Own NCHA Report and Data Hub training session webinar. We're just going to walk you through kind of this new new feature in Data Hub where you can create your own NCHA reports using basically any of the questions in NCHA. And let me go to the next line. So today, oops, sorry, I feel like you guys are seeing half of that screen. Okay. Um, so today, my name is Kawai Tanabe. I'll give brief introductions. I am the Senior Data Analytics Specialist here at ACHA, and I work with Mary Hoban. Mary, do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Hoban. I'm the Chief Research Officer here at ACHA. I'm seeing some familiar names and faces in the attendee list. That's great. Thanks for joining us today.
Right. And so the agenda is we're going to kind of briefly go over the Data Hub homepage, walk you through the Create Your Own NCHA report part. We'll have time for questions and answers, although please feel free to put your questions in the chat and I will be answering them as Mary presents the Create Your Own NCHA demo portion. And then we'll kind of go over a few upcoming features and leave you with some contact information as well. And so with that, I think I will hand it over to you, Mary. So let me stop sharing.
Okay. And I'm gonna, hmm, thought I, all right. You're looking at my Data Hub screen now, right?
Yes.
Phew. Um, I'm excited to see so many people here today. I apologize for the reschedule. We had a little glitch in the platform we needed to work out. And we're happy to get this rescheduled so quickly. Um, this is exciting. So I am going to show you around Data Hub a little bit. And maybe it would be helpful, you guys might put in the chat box whether or not you already have. I'm curious, I should have done a poll. Curious about how many people already have Data Hub access. And those of you that are here kind of to learn more about it that don't yet have access. But you can just put a little note in the chat. So this is the landing page for Data Hub. This is the first page that you come to. And I want to just point out a couple of little things over here, but before we get started in the NCHA Create Your Own. So on this homepage, you'll see a number of different resources, probably more than you care to review right now. But there's a lot of places here to get your questions answered, either in the navigation guide, in the frequently asked questions, the data dictionaries will spell out the data sources. Right now, NCHA, and then of course the IPS Institutional Profile Survey. Um, this is where when you log in, you'll see any new announcements. You can see uh, May 1, oh, we did announce that already. Did this happen, Kawhi, since we talked this morning?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we were talking
I'll have
about
to look
that
at that.
coming up later in the week, but all right. You see, back in early April, we announced the Create Your Own NCHA reports, and that's what we're going to focus on today. And then within the next couple days, we'll have access to the what we call Create Your Own Combo reports. We call them combo because it combines NCHA data and IPS data. That'll be a different training though. Um, And before we get into this, I just want to point out a little bit about what you what you can see over here. Your screen may look a little, I know why. I'm in the test app. Why? Um, your screen may not have as many options here. It probably doesn't have that. It may not have that alert either. I'm realizing in order to show you some things, I need to be logged into the test app where I am today. The uh, combo pre-designed, those are coming soon. So don't be distracted by those. Clearly, I'm distracted. That's enough. But you'll see that things are organized as either pre-designed reports or CYO, or create your own. So you have a couple of different options in Data Hub. There's two sections here. These are the long list of pre-designed IPS reports that are available. And last year we added another 8 pre-designed NCHA reports. So those are also available for you. Um, and we're always looking for new ideas about pre-designed reports to make. If you have some, please let us know. We're open to suggestions there. But beyond the pre-designed, and you can interact with those pre-designed by setting filters at both the institution and the student level. You can filter the responses, but you don't pick the questions and that sort of thing. The most flexibility comes in our create your own reports modules. The IPS is broken into 3 different modules depending on the variable type. And what we're going to focus on today is the NCHA CY create your own. Very soon you're going to see the combo create your own as well. So one of the first things I want to share with you is that Data Hub. This is powered, the data visualization tool we're using is Power BI. Some of you may recognize that. It remembers the last thing you did, and it doesn't forget. And sometimes we do and move on to new ideas. I just want to point out that you can see the last time I was in here, I was on a different topic area. It's always a good idea to start by hitting the reset buttons so that your questions are clear. You have the option of looking at 2 NCHA questions at a time, but we're going to build slowly and start with 1. So the first thing you see here is how you select the question you want to work with. You've got several options here. We've divided them into categories. If you're not sure where the question you're interested in fits into one of these categories, you could use the resources in the data dictionary to show you where it's categorized. The other option you have is you can start just typing in this box, and you'll see some options come up. If you say we want to look at substance use questions, blue means that this box, this drop-down menu, is just limited to the substance use items. If I had the blue highlighted, it's going to pull up my safety questions. So that's one way to do it. I could also start typing car accident and find it here without knowing that it was in safety. There are a number of variables. I have to clear that. There are a number of variables we collapsed for you in the NCHA data set because it makes it easier to visualize and build that graph within Data Hub. So let me show you one example is uh, sleep's got some good examples. In sleep, we asked, here's an example. We asked students about the average number of hours they sleep on a weekend night and on a weeknight. Um, and those are a series of numbers, which kind of leads to a messy graph. We have collapsed some of those so that they're easier to use. And it would help if I could remember. Let me see here. Oh, in this one, they're collapsed into 7 to 9 hours being kind of the ideal place we'd like to see it, less than 7 and 10 or more hours. So on this piece that I'm showing you, this couple of things to point out. When you're looking at a single variable in a single survey period, the reference group will be in blue and your local data will be in orange. That's consistent with our pre-designed reports. But this is an example of that variable that had been collapsed for ease in developing the graphic to tell that story. If you wanted to parse out 4 hours from 5 hours, you could do that with the variable itself that's not been collapsed. Um, Let me go back. I have a couple examples that I'd like to um go over with you. I'm going to take that off sleep. I get impatient and click twice. And the first one I'm going to look at is oral contraceptives. This is one that I've seen some questions about on the student, and I'm sorry, I almost said the Student Health Listserv in ACHA Connect. And it's one we're getting questions from our members about. It's one I'm seeing in the media a lot. But I know intuitively that that question on birth control pill use is going to be in the sexual health section. And sure enough, it pops up right here. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Now, in the oh, I'm sorry, I picked birth control patch. I didn't mean to do that. Go down one more. All right. And because I have been working in Data Hub already today, it's always a good idea to hit this button up here is our clear, and double check that no filters are applied because it remembers what you did the last time you were in Data Hub. And if I had filters applied that I didn't remember doing and they applied it to this graphic, that might produce some odd results. Why don't, well, let me go to why don't I see any data here, Kawhi?
Maybe try selecting some of the responses, Q1 responses. You could select all and try a different survey
Oh,
period as
well,
well.
that's a great idea. Not maybe, that's the reason. Okay. Um, these are students that oh my God, the contraceptive methods are select all that apply. So they're either selected or not selected. And yes, if you don't select a response option to display, nothing will be displayed. I said to Kawhi this morning, are you sure you don't want to present this? And the beauty of me doing it is I'm kind of like you. Uh, and I think that I'm going to make some of the same mistakes that some of you will make, and that might be helpful along the way. So we're looking at contraceptive use, students who selected birth control pills. The time frame that's selected here is spring 22. That's not by coincidence. I know that the dummy data I have loaded in here has NCHA data for spring 22 and for spring 24, but not for the other survey periods. So if you didn't have data, your own campus data, you would just see the blue line, of course. Um, the other thing I want to show here is, oh, and down here at the bottom, you'll see, let me go back to one that I have, local data for spring 22. You'll see the tables that go with this graphic that give you the counts. Um, my data represents the orange bar or the data from a particular school, and then the reference group gives you the counts for the reference group data. And if you use both of these together, these numbers are just repeated over here. This makes more sense. That's more useful when we're looking at two different variables. Um, but you'll see the percentage at this school, the 10% comes from 26 students out of 256 selected that they used birth control pills. So same thing with the reference group. You can see how that 20% is made up of almost 13,800 out of 69,000. Um, does that sound right? It's 20%?
I think
Yes.
so. Yep.
I know the problem. Yes. The reason I started with this question is because there's two different ways we can look at this question. This question, the contraceptive method used at the last intercourse has display logic on it. That's so that we're not asking students questions over and over again that they don't need to answer. If they've not had intercourse in the last 12 months, they don't see this question. Or if they said they didn't use a method the last time they had intercourse, they don't see this question. Um, so right now, the denominator we're using is all students in the sample. You can narrow this down to only students that saw the question. And you can see that percentage is a little higher. So of your students that used contraception the last time they had intercourse, these are the figures represented in the reference group and on a particular campus. Those numbers go down when you introduce everybody, whether they saw the question or not. Sometimes it makes sense. You want to know out of your whole student population the proportion of something. Other times it's more logical to look at just the students impacted. And I often get the question like, well, which one is right? They're both right. It's important you understand what you're looking at and that you describe accurately what you're presenting, whether it's among the entire student body or only students shown that question. The other thing is if you go to the click here at the bottom, you'll see some information about the question, exactly how it was worded. Um, the other thing you can do here is connect to this file. Oh boy, let me make that a little bit bigger. And I'm looking at pills. So those, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that would show me my, let's get out of there. I thought that would show me my display logic rules. That's in the data dictionary.
That's on the bottom, that link on the bottom. And also that PDF that Mary just showed will be available in the coming release when we're releasing our next update. So that's only available right now on the test site.
Okay.
But Mary, if you click on NCHA data dictionary, you'll see the display logic.
I was just moving on.
Okay.
NCHA. All right. Um, you said the display logic.
Yeah, if you open that, the very
Ah,
bottom.
it is the link to the data dictionary. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. That other list tells you what variables were available in, oh, this is much nicer. It's searchable. Uh,
Maybe try pill. Oh, sorry. Click on keyword underneath your search. There we go. And
I'm
then
sorry.
LinkedIn.
Okay. So this tells you what I just said, only includes students who use a method of pregnancy protection the last time they had vaginal intercourse. So if you have any questions about what that display logic means and who skips out of it, you can find it here. So let's get back to this report. Let me double check what, oh, let's look at some of the filters you can apply. And right now, we're only looking at the students who saw this question. Under filters, you can select different institution types that may be more like your campus if you want to compare to more like institutions. You could look at private schools in, this is something I learned recently. We have more private schools than public in the Northeast. And say on this one, maybe I just want to look at women because men answer this question for their partner. Um, the males are asked, the question reads, what method did you or your partner use the last time you had intercourse? So say I want to narrow this down to female students, and we can, let's limit it to traditional age 18 to 24-year old and apply that. So there's a warning up here that I've got some filters applied. If you hover over that, it'll tell you that I applied it to schools in the private schools in the Northeast, limited to female students 18 to 24 years old. For this next part, I'm going to pull off I'm going to reset these and leave the student filters on. I want to show you the option to look at trends, and this is going to default to, that's exactly what I did wrong this morning, Kwai. This is what I was looking at. It's an aside. So it defaults to not selected. All right. First of all, I'm going to clean this up and maybe just focus on the spring survey periods. It's just a lot on the screen at one time. Spring, we know, are our largest data sets, and they happen to be the school that I'm logged in as have data in those survey periods. So this makes sense for this example. We'll start with all students, and then let's look at students who selected birth control pills the last time they had intercourse. It's declining. You can see in spring 2025, that number in the reference group dropped to just 15%, where at least kind of right before the pandemic, it was up higher than 25%. and then has slowly been coming down. This school in Orange has lower rates, but I would point out to you that it's a very small sample. You can see here in spring, it's 14 students, and by spring 24, it was only 4. Their overall sample size was 108 and 88. Now, and that's the whole sample of female students in that age group. So I wouldn't, once you have the more filters you add, the smaller your numbers become. And you may see an NA in one of these fields because it's so small we can't show you, or the results. I wouldn't get upset or too concerned about something I saw in the results when you're talking about a very few number of students. It may not represent, it may not be a good representative sample. But what is clear is that, in fact, oral contraceptives seem to be dropping down. Kawhi, is there anything in the chat we should pause on, or no?
Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. There was one just now that says, can you show us where we find how the question was asked again? Right.
Yes. Except, oh, I didn't mean to do that. That just takes you to the NCHA website. And let me clear that out. You're going to have to look at the survey itself, because even these are short titles. We bent over backwards to be accurate, but we'll have to add some links to the actual survey instruments. And I appreciate that question, because so often I see people making presentations with NCHA data that didn't necessarily represent the way the question was asked. Like, this is something everybody needs to understand as you're using this data. So thank you for that question. They are available on our websites. We should, oh, yeah, we should figure out how to make that a little more obvious in Data Hub. Thank you for that question.
And Christine actually just made a good point that in the about this report section, in that click here section, there
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit more of a description about what the question asked. It might not be the exact wording though, as in the actual survey, but if you go, you
Yeah, but that's
select,
coming out of the data dictionary, isn't it?
there's a little bit more information in the about this report section.
Oh, okay. Oh, even better. All right. I told you guys I'm learning with you. Um, all right, let's go back to NCHA-CY. Oh, I want to get back to that.
Oh, and once you're there, Mary, can you also demonstrate how to apply the filters again, please, as a
Sure.
request?
There's a button up here. This box will open, and you can make your choice of institutional and student filters. Let me, while I'm in here, reset so that I don't carry that into the next visualization. You see here, it just reverted everything back to all students. And if I go back to my trends, it's still on selected contraceptives, and it remembered the survey periods I wanted to look at. You can see that trend is really the same. Okay. I mean, you could even say the trend is the same for those few students on this very small campus and this small sample. Um, So the next one I wanted to share with you, the point of this was showing toggling between these student samples and why that's important. It's for when display logic is applied. And if you hover over the little information icon here, it spells out exactly that it's about the difference in display logic. So let me go back and I want to reset everything just in case. And this time I want to look at uh autism spectrum. I'm just curious. Why? Oh, I know why. Because I that reset didn't take the highlight off of sexual health. So it was looking for autism in the sexual health section. Now, so it doesn't matter what section it's in, I can see any of the questions about autism. Some of them come up in the medical history, the question 65 series. Some of them come up, why oh, in the demographics under list of disabilities and conditions that students might have. That one doesn't have display logic applied to it. Everybody sees that question, and it's a good one to kind of start from. This is why I'm doing this demo, because I know the NCHA. Why is the brains behind Data Hub? Yeah. All right. So we're gonna look at students that selected yes. This is also select all that apply question for indicating that they were on the they have autism spectrum disorder. They've been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Um, the difference here, because there is no display logic applied, you don't have to believe me. You can see that when you toggle between these two buttons, the numbers don't change. So that's your other clue. Um, let's look at trends. And oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back a second. Oh, isn't that weird? Okay, this is on yes, but when I go to trends, it defaults to the no selection. So let me update this to yes. Again, the blue bars are the reference group, and clearly there's a bit of an increase in students identifying as being somewhere on the spectrum. I don't think that would surprise anybody on the call, but it um, is helpful to take a look at this stuff and understand that trend and have something to document that trend. I didn't share with you, but you can export a full report that includes all of these pieces. You can export any one piece of it if you wanted. I don't recommend that because it's really all the data that tells the story. Like the fact that this orange bar only represents 10 students. Um, but you can export it into a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF. These are all ADA compliant, these reports. So it's another way that for you to share targeted pieces of information in a way that's compliant with your key stakeholders. Let me see, what else did I want to show you there? You could look at, you could crowd this up as, oh no, not in a trend. You can only look at one response option at a time. Um, and those yeses you can see are slowly creeping up. Some of the answers you'll see you can include those that saw the question. These are your missings, the people that saw the question but didn't answer it. Um, if you're curious about that missing data. Um, yeah, and it's when you're in the trends page that these figures over here show you the numerator or the top number used to calculate these percentages for both the reference group and my data if a school has it for that survey period. Over here, these numbers represent the denominator. So for this spring 22 sample at almost 4%, that's 10 students out of 256 on that particular campus. So it's a small sample to begin with, and then an even um, smaller number of students represented. They had a little bit bigger sample in 2024, but that number was 6. So again, they're small numbers. I wouldn't say they have a trend going down. I think they just don't have a lot of data to document it in this case. Kawhi, what am I leaving out here?
I think you've hit it all
Okay, I'm gonna move
for
on
this one. Yeah.
to, we're gonna advance and go to 2 NCHA questions. I'm gonna reset this just in case. Um, and we're gonna look at overall health, which is the default question. Um, and let's look here at food insecurity, how that may interact with overall health. And we have the individual questions um, for food insecurity here, or we could go right to the categories of the scored scale. And that's what we'll use for this one. And then generate that chart. It's going to always default to a single survey period with nothing selected, um, which is why I've got to make some, it did remember fall 22. Um, so, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, we're going to use these. So you can start by selecting as many of these as you want. You could keep it simple and look at just the better two of overall health is described as very good or excellent, and all 3 levels of food insecurity. And because we're showing multiple values here, the local data is going to be down here in a different, my data, your orange isn't an orange bar anymore. It's the header in this graphic on the bottom. The pattern is a little bit different in this part of the graphic. Again, I think that's about a small sample size. So let's look at this reference group here, where you can see that the better the student describes their overall health, the higher food security they have. This is no food insecurity or higher marginal food security. The yellow is low security and the purple's very low security. If you want to kind of see how that plays out across all the 5 categories, it gets kind of interesting. We sort of have a break even spot here. But it's the first time that the number for no food insecurity actually drops below. Um, is it's when you get to good, that number is lower here. Um, and then you start to see the food insecure categories of low and very low start to run higher. So there's a bit of a flip-flop there. Um, let's see what else I wanted to show you here. Um, yeah, the local data is on a separate graph. You'll see the table here with all the figures for both the reference group and the local data. Um, let's see what more information is provided here. Um, okay. Good point. I'm looking at question one, how do you describe your overall health? And there's 5 categories. We've also collapsed it into a dichotomous variable. And we made a note in here to draw it to your attention because that may make for a better visualization in your case, depending on the what you're trying to demonstrate. This also explains how the scores for the food insecurity are collapsed. So let's go back to that um, screen and let me take the collapsed. Oh, the collapsed variable. And this is how they appear in the list. And you can see it for lots of different variables. I gave you the example of the sleep hours that you can look at it by hour, or you can look to for students getting about the right amount of sleep, too much or too little. Um, so let's look at overall health collapsed against that food insecurity. Um, so you can see my response options here changed. Instead of the 5 categories, I have 2. We're kind of lump the 2 negative and then the neutral to positive. And here you can see the pattern a little bit differently. Um, certainly, there's students, food insecure students, that describe their general health as excellent or very good. It's not the only thing contributing to that, but there is definitely a correlation there at a minimum. There's a relationship there. Um, the other thing I want to show you or to consider as you're making these tables is, maybe it would read better if we selected the food security variable first. Oh, I need to hit reset after I select a new category. And again, the blue tells me I'm in a category. I have to keep reminding myself of that. And we'll use the categorical food insecurity. It's going to change whether it's on the y-axis or the x-axis. Oh, dummy. I didn't scroll all the way to the top. Apologies.
You just need to delete your search,
It
Mary.
won't. Oh, I was thinking it won't let me select it for both. I see. It overall hung on there. Thank you. All right, so let's look at the categorical food security and flip that for I have to take food security off here, and I have to be patient, not my superpower. Let's look at first overall health without it being collapsed. And when I was playing with this, I kind of felt like this was a little bit easier to tell a story. Um, so what you see here is on the x-axis are your food insecurity categories. And then the colored bars represent um, the overall health question and those responses. And I just encourage you to kind of play with this and see which one intuitively makes more sense, that you think people are going to understand better, and see, kind of where you land up there. Um, I would try this again too with the collapsed overall health. I should have saved the image to toggle back and forth of the one I did of it reversed, but I didn't. So clearly, excellent, very good, and good are more students are represented without food insecurity. They have higher marginal food security. Um, so that's I think all I wanted to show you there. Am I leaving anything out, Kawhi?
No, I
Anything
think
in the
that's,
chat we can respond to?
nope, I think I've been answering them as you've been
Okay,
presenting. So,
cool.
so far we're good.
Great. Well, let's I already alluded to that. You saw it because I'm in the test app, that very soon you'll see the combo CYO module available, which will let you pick one IPS. Now you can't reverse these. You have to pick the IPS question first and then an NCHA question second to do some visualizations. We're also going to introduce, and I'll tell you, well, we'll do a separate training on that, but that's one you want to be careful with. It's easy to make nonsense um, with that. Make sure that you have some good kind of research question or hypothesis first before you start plugging in um, questions there. We will also have a couple of pre-designed, just like we have pre-designed IPS and NCHA reports, we're building some pre-designed combo reports that'll be available to you. Um,
Just one thing I wanted to add is that whenever we have something new coming out, it is good if you can just refresh your browser, and then that way any new features such as the NCHA CYO will pop up for you. So just it's a good
oh,
practice to just hit
that
refresh.
reminds me, I want to share another thing you shared with me. Kauai has taught me a couple of times.
I think we're seeing your wrong screen.
Oh man. Well, most of you know me. Um, it was too easy to go back that quickly. All right. Um, this reset button, if things just don't look right or not displaying, you think something might be off, start by resetting everything here to the defaults and refreshing well, maybe I'd start with refreshing the visuals and then reset to the defaults. But it kind of clears everything out, and it will update your blue menu there. Um, always, whether you're refreshing your browser or in the tool itself, um, don't hesitate to do that. Might clear things up for you. Just a little tip.
There is
Okay.
one
Um,
question in the chat, Mary, about if the patient satisfaction survey will eventually be in Data Hub, and I thought I'd throw that to you.
that's a good question. It's not come up yet. Um, I will tell you, we're adding, actually, it could come up. Not, um, maybe the individual. All right, let me start with this. This is a very expensive project, and everything we add costs money. So we're trying to be real, and there are a lot of improvements we want to make on what I just showed you still. Um, we have talked about adding eventually the well-being assessment data. I don't know why. I mean, the goal is that yes, this is a hub of all ACHA data and then some. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could start importing claims data out of your health insurance programs or your ICD-10 codes out of your EHR and look at how some of these things interact with one another. But that's a ways down the road. One thing that is coming to IPS is because it's just a few variables. From the clinical benchmarking modules, we did one last year on screening and prevention. The scores from the schools that did that module, there's 6 variables, will be eventually available in Data Hub. I just tacked them onto their IPS responses. Right, currently we're collecting data on the sexual health surveillance um, clinical benchmarking module it's been a while, but we used to do this annually. We want to get back onto a schedule of collecting positivity rates on STI and pregnancy testing, as well as your abnormal pap tests. Um, that I'm thinking I can also tack onto a school's IPS submission. I don't know why uh, patient satisfaction couldn't be a part of it, or at least pieces of it done in the same way. We just have to look at the development plans and find the resources to do it. But the hope is that, yeah, eventually all of our data ends up in one kind of one-stop shopping. Sorry, that was a very long answer to a relatively simple question that maybe I should have just said I don't know. But again, some of you know me pretty well.
Are there any other questions? In the meantime, I'm gonna just pop up a slide. Oops. Just with some contact. Oops, nope. Wrong screen. Um, just with some additional help and contact information.
Hmm.
And this is hot off the press. We just actually decided on a date for this combo reports webinar. So that will be June 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, which we'll send out emails and it'll be in the source and in Connect, but mark that on your calendar. Post questions on ACHA Connect so your fellow users can help you out and or Mary or I. Check out our video tutorials in Data Hub. You can find that on the navigation guide or the quick links page. Contact Mary or I. And if you do have any issues logging in or you're not seeing your data, there is an IT help desk too, helpdesk@tyrilla.com. But you could always email me and I can help forward that along. So, any other questions while we're all here?
Could also come off mute and ask a question if you wanted to.
Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll give you back a few minutes. And I encourage you, if you have access, get in there and play with it. If you're not seeing data you think should be there, I know Kawhi's answered that question. Uh, that one I'd start with the help desk. But please feel free to email us with any questions you might have. We're excited to be able to share this with you. I'll give you a little apology on my stumbling over most of it. Uh,
Oops.
it's still new to me.
Um, there was a question about where are the videos on Data Hub, so I'm sharing my screen real quick. It's right here in this navigation guide. If you click on video tutorials and if you click view, then all of these right here are videos. And if you click on any of them, it'll open up to our ACHA YouTube channel with all of the videos.
I told you there was more there than you were going to want to see. You could spend a day going through just all our backup material. Well, thanks all for coming. We're delighted to see this interest in Data Hub. Thanks for being patient with us while we built this. I know it took forever, and we're just excited to get moving into this next phase. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.